side. Okay, yes, now I can see myself. So hi. I changed the title for my presentation to what has FAIR got to do with it. And to start the presentation, I'm going to share my feelings or kind of emotions today. And definitely for me, every time I do present, the fear comes up. So the emotion of fear is strong also today, as there's always an opportunity to fail, to lose my face, maybe not to remember something what I wanted to say. And now if we go to the presentation, then I'm just looking. Yes, okay, thank you. So this is me. I'm here with my daughter. So what I am is a father, I'm a husband, and I'm also an entrepreneur, a founding partner of Cocoon Ventures. A lot what I'm going to talk today about is coming from the Cocoon program. And I'm also founding partner of Build It Hardware Accelerator, and we have altogether made about 100 investments into different companies. And I'm a co-founder of the company, which is working on an early stage of breast cancer detection. And if I have time, I try to also use a little bit of stand-up comedy, and there's a lot of failure and fears connected to that as well. But looking at this picture and this intro, it seems like all very positive, but the life in itself isn't always so rosy and peachy. So what I'm also on top of what it's displayed here is that I have gone through the burnout where I had a need for psychiatric care. I'm very often tackling a problem of self-importance. I take things personally. I have misled myself, my family. I have left my family alone when they needed me the most. So why I'm talking about this is that in general, we live in a dualistic world. There's black versus white, darkness versus light. Me, my self-image, and the darker side of myself, work and family. This is where I started. And face value and what's underneath the face value. So when looking at the world through a dualistic point of view, so what we are looking for in reality is not balance. So there's a lot of work or kind of a lot of topics around work-life balance. So how to kind of come to a balance point. In my opinion, this is the wrong question to ask. So it's not really about the balance. It's really about integrating one side with the other. As an example, with work-life, the question for me is how can I use what I have learned as a leader in my company? How can I use that to be a better father? Or how can I bring the family values into my work life? And when we're talking about the work life, the question what I'm asking myself every day when facing problems is what is the real challenge? So any challenge or any problem which we are facing can be looked at two ways. We can look at the face value and we can look at under the face value. So the face value, if we take as an example, I can't raise funding for my startup. This is a face value, we're running out of money. So if we tackle problems only on the face value, what happens is that we become very good problem solvers. And a lot of entrepreneurs are, and this is something which you definitely need. What we often as an entrepreneurs don't realize that all people are good problem solvers. Otherwise, it's really impossible to live the life on this physical plane. And when we now look at the under the face value, like if I'm being challenged with the fact that it's difficult for me to raise funding, then under the face value could be happening a lot of things. Maybe it's I don't trust myself, I don't believe in my product, I don't love myself, there's a fear of failure, fear of confrontation. So there's a lot of things which can happen under the face value, and this is very individual. And now, again, if we look at the world from a more spiritual perspective, then what's often said or preached is that if you live your life in a spiritual way, then the problems in this materialistic world don't matter. And again, in my opinion, when you're disregarding yet half of the life. So in order to become, and specifically not saying a better person, but the wholer person, you should always look at the both sides of the coin, the face value and under the face value, and solve both of them. So even if I understand that there's a failure and tackle the fear, I still need to go and fundraise. Otherwise, my company will fail. So what has fear got to do with all of it? So now, if we look at the fear is an emotion. There's 4 emotions, and we're going to go and take a closer look what they are. But fear lives in the subconscious level of us. So if we take a look at this through the analogy of the iceberg, then the tip of the iceberg is the conscious level. So this is where we act. This is our thoughts. This is our perceptions. This is our everyday life. And then there's the subconscious level, which is mainly our memories and kind of sorted knowledge. And then this is unconscious level. And again, it's a very dualistic world, meaning that what is on the conscious level is usually very visible to us. So this is the world where we operate in. This is the decisions we make and conversations we have. And what's happening in the unconscious level is invisible very often. So it's very difficult to measure emotions. We know that we feel them, but it's yet difficult to kind of integrate them, or even accept them very often, especially being a man or a male. And I was just looking at the panel, which was before me, talking about the diversity and also one of the problems which they pointed out was that the problem is already taking place in early education. So if we take the same analogy from the last panel, is that the males and men are taught already from the little to ignore their emotions. So why are you crying? You're not a little baby anymore. Or why are you getting angry all of a sudden? So we are taught to disregard our emotions. And the fact is that if we talk about our emotions and the invisible half, or we can also call it the unknown half of life of ourselves, when we're talking about full potential, I mean, if we're accessing them, what's in our subconscious level, then we can actually realize our full potential. And that the full potential, what I mean in the context of today's presentation, is your hidden inner abilities, which you're not fully aware of, or maybe you haven't even explored. And the synonym for that is a full awareness. And with the picture you see on the slide, this is from Thesaurus, so they have a really cool way of visualizing things. And what does then full awareness mean in English language? Is that to live your life knowingly, deliberately, intentionally, consciously, wittingly, with the full knowledge, and with one's eyes open. So, and now, if we think about how to then access this unseen or unknown part of our own life, then the key in reality is emotions. It's not enough, but it's the key to unlock the door. You still need to go through the door, but today we're going to talk about the key. But before we can access the door, and it doesn't matter if we look at this in the business context or in the private context. Again, this is one life you're living, so there's no real difference. So there's only one way, and instead of finding the balance, to integrate them with each other, so that one would support the other, right? So now looking at the emotions as a key, before we can actually use the emotions to turn the key, we need to look at what is called the blocking emotions. And this is what I have here on the picture. There's 3 of them. There's anxiety, there's shame, and there's guilt. I've felt all of them. And ever since after my burnout, I'm still dealing with anxiety almost on a daily basis. And what does the blocking emotions means is that anytime when either anxiety, shame, or guilt comes up, it's impossible for you to go a level down where your emotions live. This is just how we're set up. And what is then now important in the context of TechChill or building your startup or being an entrepreneur or a wholer person is that whenever you're feeling one of those three, this is not the point where you should be making important decisions. So if, for example, you're in a board meeting and a guilt comes up, you haven't done something which you promised, and you're feeling guilty for that, this is not the time to make a strategic decision. So because these emotions are blocking your access to your true emotions, and without accessing your true emotions, you again only have a 50% of the available information to make a decision. So at least I wouldn't want to make a decision based on 50% of available information. I used to do. That led me to burning out and definitely not want to do that again. So when we're now talking about what's behind the blocking emotions, so when we are not currently experiencing either shame or guilt or anxiety, then there's 4 basic emotions. And then there's, again, different interpretations, and some of the models say 7, some of them say 5. They're fairly similar. I'm using the model with 4 basic emotions. One is being happy. One is being sad or melancholic. One is being afraid, having fear. And one is anger, right? So we all have these emotions. We all have experienced those emotions. And we, well, I cannot say all, but a lot of us have been also learning how to hide these or how to ignore them. But this is your key, and then I would call them even as your navigation map. So there's your life path, and we kind of come to this life without the navigation system, or to be more precise, without the map. So a lot of our life is kind of trying to search and look for what is the life path which I should be walking on, right? And a lot of us, we end up being an entrepreneurs because we have this kind of feeling or yearning that I want to do something with my own hands and build something from the ground up. And then the question is, like, how do I navigate these waters if I don't have a navigation system? And the answer is you do have, and this is your emotions. And if you have ever thought, like, why do some people get angry in a certain situations, and for other people they start laughing in this situation? It's because we are on a different life paths, starting even from socks lying around at home. Some people laugh at it, I get really angry. So these 4 emotions are kind of your basic emotions. This is your basic guidance system. The question is then, how do you use them, right? So if we now go a level deeper, I don't know if you noticed it, but actually the heading of the slide changed. But there is in reality only one true emotion, and this is desire. And this also will then now give us an opportunity to unlock the information which is hidden inside your emotions, to help you make better decisions and to help you understand where the life is guiding you. So when we talk about happiness, this is really easy. All of us want to feel happy. And also now, if we take a dualistic kind of world view, that the problem nowadays is that not all of, but a lot of the problem kind of like programs, self-help books, philosophies, frameworks, they sell you the promise to live a happier life. And by that, the suggestion is that our emotions are bad. And this is a truly deep trap if you fall into it. The other emotions are as good as happiness. And they're as important guiding kind of your navigation system as is the happiness. So please do not kind of exclude them. But happiness truly is the desire to live. So whenever you're feeling happy, when your guiding system is saying, okay, so this is you're in your life path. So this is what is you, and you should be doing more of that. So this is really easy, right? And this is really kind of easy to spot, and we all like to be happy, and it's easy to be in that emotion. Now, if we take sadness, for example, when a lot of us, we don't really allow ourselves to be sad because it doesn't feel good. We feel miserable, we feel melancholic while sad. But now if we look at through what the navigation system is telling us when we're sad, when it's actually desire to change. And here's the tricky part. I talked to a lot of people who are experiencing sadness and saying, okay, so if you look it through the perspective that this is desire to change, what would you like to change? And then the typical answer is that they would like to change other people around them or the world around them, but not themselves. Now, if we talk about the navigation system and emotions which are yours, then also all the implications are yours. So if a sadness is an indication that inside of you there's a desire to change, then you need to bring it back to yourself. Even if the sadness is caused by another person or by circumstances in your life, then always bring it back to yourself. So if this is my desire to change, so what is what I would like to change within myself? Now, if we take fear, this is desire to escape, to run away. And again, how to then make fear your affiliate and not an enemy is to ask yourself, so if fear is a desire to run away, to escape, what am I running away from? So for example, today I was feeling fear doing the presentation, and I know exactly what I want to run away from, and that's the feeling of discomfort. I don't see you. It feels like as if talking to a wall. For me, I don't have any feedback from the audience. Nothing. I don't know if there's 2 people watching me, if it's 200, or maybe it's 1,200. I have no feedback whatsoever. Makes me extremely uncomfortable. So that the reason I like to do public speeches is because the feedback I'm getting from the audience, and this is missing. And this is the feeling I want to run away from, right? And this is what the fear is telling me. And now how to tackle the fear is actually not to run away, but first of all to acknowledge, and then to understand what is what I'm running away, and then making decisions based on that. And then this is definitely something in my life, what I don't want to practice is to run away from uncomfortable situations. And so I'm here today. And now anger is something which we all being told that this is a really bad emotion to feel, but in reality, again, it's as good as any other, because it's just giving you a navigation path which way you should be turning. And now anger itself is a desire to fight. There is, and that we can feel. I mean, if anger comes up, we actually feel it physically in our body. And sometimes really, especially males, they actually even like put their fists into a fighting position, and this is because this is a desire to fight. And now again, the question is, if you're feeling anger, like what am I fighting for? Is how you can kind of find out what this emotion is trying to tell you in this situation. So the question is, what am I fighting for? And there's only 2 things which are worth fighting for. So if you're picking your battles, choose them wisely. So it's not about winning a battle. It's about winning the war, right? So you should be picking your battles wisely. So if the anger comes up and this is a desire to fight, then the question is, what am I fighting for? And the 2 things which are really worth fighting for is clarity, so to understand the situation better, or self-respect. These are the 2 things which are worth fighting for. Anything else pretty much is not. And this is my last slide, and I want to leave today you with a, I don't know what to call it, an ask, homework, a thought. So if you're taking something from today's presentation, then this should be emotional clearing. And either you can do it today, maybe at your home, you can do it alone, but better yet, since this is Tech Chill, this is for startups, do it on Monday morning in your meeting with the whole team. And emotional clearing is write down from the last week all the occasions which you can remember, which made you happy, which made you sad, which made you angry, and which made you afraid. This is emotional clearing. So thank you very much. My name is Alexander Tõnisson. I'm from Cocoon Program and Cocoon Ventures. And there's a small QR code at the bottom. So if you guys are a startup founders and see that, hey, so kind of what I said sounds interesting, I would like to hear more, and maybe there's a challenge in my company, I would like to have a different perspective, then you can sign up for a short consultation. I'm happy to meet you online. Thank you.